So I'm running a home care business. What kind of level of profit am I looking at? If I'm turning over, let's say, £500,000 or £1 million, what would be the kind of the rule of thumb?
That's a great question. I think it really depends on lots of different things. When I've run businesses, I always run businesses thinking, okay, a certain amount that I need it to do, and then the rest I'm investing back in because I want to get to the next stage. But if we say a steady business that isn't in that growth stage, because if you're growing, you're investing a lot of that profitability back in. But if you're a steady, half million, £1 million business and you're not growing, I would really say that the industry average might be around 8%, and we would, on average, we're sort of way more than double that. And so my focus is always, when I'm talking to my team, how do we get people to 25%? And if they're not at 18%, I feel sort of worried about that. And I think, well, okay, what do we need to do to get them there? Is it looking at their pricing? Because actually, invariably, you could probably do that with pricing. Is it that, I sat down with a franchisee a year ago and we looked at the numbers, and we have a metric tool that breaks down where each thing should be, each line item should be in terms of a percentage of your top line revenue. And so I run this metric tool with her, and we see that the office staff is highly inflated. And yes, she was in that growth phase, but actually what that number told me as a percentage, it told me that there was a problem with the management piece. And so then she had this side office, and we went into this office and three different whiteboards. So, right, tell me everyone's names. Great. Roles, right? KPIs. What are they doing? What is it actually that we're trying to achieve out of these people? So we dug into that. And by the end of it, what we realized was that there was the wrong people in the wrong jobs. And so if you pick up a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, it's all about getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. And so it's really kind of going through that journey and saying, well, okay, how does everything fit in together? What am I spending on X? Have I got the right manager? Is that manager not really the right manager, and therefore I need another two or three people? And so rather than having one person that's slightly more expensive, I've got three people that are kind of at a average rate, but I'm then paying three times as much as, or double the rate, and so on. So it's really digging into it. Another wonderful scenario that I had was I was working with this chap, and his mileage cost to care workers every month was almost the same as what he was paying the care workers. And I was like, what on earth is going on here? I like that number to be less than 10% of what you pay your care workers. And what that means is that your care worker is not nailed in loads of driving. They're working more locally, they're not on the road so much, and so their hour is spent with a client, not spent sort of 40 minutes driving and 15 minutes with the client, when you sort of average out what their day looks like. And therefore that helps retention of staff and so on and so forth. But also it means that you can run a more profitable business. So in every way that helps. And so I sat down with this chap and I said, great, now here's a map, let's plot out where all your carers are, and now let's plot out where all your clients are. And what we realized was there was about three clients that were really just way out. And these three clients were a huge issue for the business. And it meant that the care workers were having to travel 3 times a day back and forth, because the care workers that was going there was also having to do something, 40 minutes away. And it was 7 days a week, it was 3 times a day, and there was 3 different locations and so on. And I said, well, okay, now let's plot on a forecast what your business would look like without those 3 clients, because obviously that's a chunk of revenue that would go. So it impacts me directly because I only earn from the top line. But what does it impact? How does it impact you as a franchisee? So we did this exercise and realized that their business becomes profitable overnight. Their percentage on mileage goes down to about 20%, so double kind of 15%, so not quite double what it should be, but actually it means that there's a bit more kind of organization that's required there. But the profitability increases. So they've reduced their revenue significantly, but their profitability increases. And so I just sort of sat and I said, okay, so what do you want to do with this? And he said, right, okay, so what do I do with this? I mean, I can't now not do anything, but also I've got these clients. And so we worked through this piece. We found other care providers locally that could support with those clients, and had these conversations with the clients and explained that, look, we can either charge you double or triple what we're charging you, but that feels unreasonable. But also we've got these other local care providers that can support you, and there we go. Because either way, whichever way we split this, in another 2 months, the care worker that's coming back and forth, and just super stressed, and their car's breaking down, whatever, that person's going to leave anyway. So either we recruit someone locally in 3 different locations, which will take us X amount of time, or we help you move on, and we consolidate the business. For me, these businesses are hyper local. We work from a nucleus out.